Okay, good morning, everyone. It is Monday, October 20th, 2025. It's exactly 9 a.m. This MPO board meeting is called to order. And as a reminder, please silence all electronic devices and cell phones before we begin. Now I'd like to ask Ms. Eubanks to confirm a quorum. Do we have a quorum, ma'am?
Yes, we have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, if you could all please rise and join Mayor Dan West from the city of Palmetto. He will be kind enough to provide the invocation and to lead us in the pledge following. Good morning, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let us bow our heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this wonderful day you've given us here in this great part of Florida, Lord. We just ask that you be with us as we deliberate and help us make the best decisions we can for the citizens of Southwest Florida. Please get all of us home to our families this evening safely, and just be with us as we go through today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor. We will now open up into agenda item number 3, which is our public comment for this morning. Ms. Eubanks, did we receive any comments, ma'am?
No, we did not.
Okay. I have Pat Simmons here.
Yes, from the public, yes.
Okay. Do we want to do that now, or yeah, right? Okay. Ms. Simmons, good morning. You are recognized. Go ahead and go up to the podium, please. And you will have, I believe, 3 minutes, 2 minutes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I heard someone say at a meeting the other day that people with disabilities are assumed to be included. And I thought about that a lot since then. And I started looking up demographics, and I came up with a website called Able Trust that I encourage all of you to look at. And it says that 14-point-something% of people in Manatee County have a disability. And I'm sure you're thinking, okay, 14%, no big deal. Until you break that down into the entire population, and that's almost 55,000 people, which is roughly, Mayor Brown, the size of Bradenton. So if you think about that and let that sink in, I don't think that we deserve to be assumed anymore. I brought a thing to show and tell, but I've got to bring it up. It's a van from FDOT, and it shows a person walking, a person in a car, and a person cycling, all well and good. Where's a person using a mobility device? Where's a person that's using a white cane? Don't assume for us anymore. We're a large population in this area, and we deserve better. I heard a quote the other day that it's time to quit playing checkers and it's time to start playing chess. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Moving on into agenda item number 4 this morning under reports. First is the Florida Department of Transportation report from our District 1 Secretary, James Drigger. Thank you, sir. Good morning. You're recognized.
Good morning. Just a lot going on in the area, as you can imagine, covering a lot of ground. If you have any issues, we're here. Just let us know.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions for our director? Seeing none, moving on to agenda item 4B, which is the MPOAC report by our Vice Chair. Mayor Brown, please.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing since the last meeting we had, since we're having a couple of meetings in a row here, but we do have an MPOAC meeting on Thursday in Orlando that myself, Dave, and Ryan will be attending, and we'll give an update next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now moving on to our Executive Director under agenda item 4C. He will give the MPO report, which includes the final draft 2026 Sarasota Manatee MPO meeting schedule and November 2025 MPO Board Meeting. Good morning, Dave. You are recognized.
Thank you, sir. Seems like we were just here recently. So we don't usually meet 3 meetings 3 months in a row, but because of the deadline for adoption of the long-range transportation plan update, our meeting today, and the draft meeting schedule for 2026 is distributed once again. We have not heard of any significant conflicts, correct in that?
Correct.
So we hope that that will work for next year. And it does not look like, unless you all would like to meet to discuss transportation issues, and assuming that the LRTP is adopted today, a November meeting wouldn't be needed. Our deadline for adoption is actually October 26th, so we'd probably try to meet later in the week on Friday or something like that. But so let us know if that's your decision about a board meeting in November. We sort of figured that you might want to not meet if there's no pressing business. We planned it just in case. And we did receive the FDOT work program, which you'll hear more about today, the draft tentative. It's kind of a preliminary overview. Not every project that's underway is listed in it, but it's also very helpful. It tells us what some of your priorities that are receiving funding are, and we'll spend some time on that later in the meeting. I have one other item, two other items. The at your places is kind of an overview that David Machado prepares, which shows us that we closed out, this is the closeout of last fiscal year, which happened June 30th, and there was some carry forward, which is available as part of the budget for this year, and you'll get a report on that probably the first half of this fiscal year in January at that meeting. We're in good shape from a budget standpoint. And one last item that I just thought that I would like to recognize Nanette Eubanks. Has it been 23 years? 24 years at the MPO, and just recently her husband, who had passed away, and she is now determined that she's going to retire at the end of the year. So congratulations, Nanette. And
Thank you, Dave.
We'll probably hear a little more about that later.
Very good,
Thank
sir.
you.
Well, Ms. Eubanks, I probably speak for all of us here on this day. Thank you kindly for the decades of service to this great organization. Happy trails off into your sunset, and Godspeed.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, do we have any questions for our chair, or for our executive director here? All right, seeing none, moving on to my report this morning. I don't have anything of dire consequence or significance. However, this is my last day as your chair. Just wanted to say thank you for your confidence in leading this board. It has been fun. It has been a learning process, as it always is. And I'm sure as this organization continues under new chairmanship, vice chairmanship, et cetera, we're in great hands. And we will now move on to the consent agenda, agenda item number 5. Mr. Hutchinson will read each of these titles into the record for us. Dave, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Nutter. There are 2 items on the consent agenda. The first is the approval of the MPO Board regular meeting minutes from the last meeting, September 29th, 2025, inclusive of any Scrivener's errors or minor corrections. And the second is the approval of a continuation of a regional transportation systems management and operations, or regional TISMO program, MOU, or memorandum of understanding, with all of the other MPOs in the Tampa Bay region and across the I-4 corridor connecting to I-95, which have been coordinating now for a number of years, about 5 years, 6 years, and working with FDOT as they develop the information technology-based systems improvements along those corridors. So it gives the MPOs a chance to make sure that our regional systems are compliant with the interconnectivity, interoperability requirements, among other things.
All right, very good, Dave. And Ms. Eubanks, I believe I can take these together, right? A and B? Yes, sir. All right, very good. Is there a motion to approve all items on the consent as presented, please?
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mast. Is there a second? Second by the mayor. Any discussion on these items? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Is there any opposed? Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item number 6. This is the only action item for today. It's 6A 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan, LRTP adoption. Ryan Brown will be presenting this item this morning. Good morning, Ryan. You are recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Board, for being here today. As you know, we've been working quite diligently over the last 2 years to pull this long-range transportation plan together. Today, I'm going to give you another high-level, hopefully concise overview of where we ended up and what we're going to look forward to doing over the next several years implementing this plan. As you know, we've taken numerous steps in developing this long-range plan. All the way back into late 2022, we looked at socioeconomic development and data. We revisited our visions and goals, went through a revenue forecasting process, ultimately devising a cost-feasible plan, as well as identifying some unfunded needs, and then bringing it here together to get today for you all to approve potentially at the governing board. Some of the things we wanted to cover, just high level, some of the major elements of this plan, one being public involvement. So how we carried that out. We were some underarching themes that we really wanted to kind of pull out. Some of the major ones were community empowerment, making sure people understood that this is their plan, not just something that we're putting out and kind of putting out to the community as our own ideas. We wanted genuine feedback on the process. Making sure it was multimodal. We had heard from community members, from you all, from our transportation planners and engineers in the community that it needed to be more multimodal. We needed to look at bike, ped, transit as viable alternatives to car travel. Being collaborative, making sure that we are working together throughout the process, and then ultimately making sure that we were appropriately understanding the scale and impact of this plan. Is not a short-term plan, it is a long-term planning exercise going out 25 years, making sure that we were understanding the scope of what we were working on. Some of the major portions of this public involvement were in 3 separate phases. 1 being the vision scenarios, 2, the goals and objectives, and 3, our local priorities. Each of those had a corresponding survey, public workshop, and outreach event. I know you all participated in a number of these, and we truly appreciate your feedback. Ultimately, we heard from our local jurisdictions as well as you all related to local priorities. So we wanted to make sure that we were tying those in. We also had a final outreach event in Bishop and Bradenton, which we got further feedback on our cost feasible and some of the early priorities we wanted to bring forward. Some of the outreach tools we used, most of all the conventional ones that were typically used, but also pop-up events, television and radio interviews. We wanted to make sure that we were doing things that were typically maybe outside of typical government reach. We wanted to make sure we were truthfully meeting people where they are, not just trying to distribute amongst our existing tools. One of the things that we do find very productive during the process was going and meeting each of your staffs, as well as some of you all, on what we call our town tours. We discussed at length what your local priorities are, typically blocked off 2-hour segments to go through these things. We met mainly through February of this year. We're able to hear directly from you all which things were highest of priority and how they could potentially work in our process. Some of the key phases, as previously mentioned, socioeconomic data. This is, I think, the driving portion of why the LRTP exists. We're expecting to see at least another 250,000 or more people join the region in the next 25 years, all the way up to that number there, approximately 1.28 million by 2050. This clearly shows an issue for our existing infrastructure, something that we need to be prepared for and truthfully understand where this data was. So we did undertake a pretty in-depth TAZ development process, traffic analysis zones, where we applied population growth, employment growth, types of households into each specific TAZ and understanding where this growth is occurring. That's probably no surprise. The vast majority of this growth is occurring east of I-75, and something that we really want to truthfully try to understand and how we can address those challenges. One of the major things that we did look at was some of our scenario planning. The three here at 1, 2, 3, high value growth, creating vibrant places and preserving environmental health were existing from our prior long range plan. However, we wanted to take a look at a new scenario, which is creating resilient communities. Obviously, we're all highly impacted over the last several years based on our storms. So how do we want to invest in specific infrastructure and facilities to make sure that we are able to bounce back following a storm? Ultimately, this resolve came to a vision that really created a balanced future. Not any one of those scenarios is the way forward. In our opinion, it was ultimately a combination of those things. So focusing and safeguarding environmental assets, preserving into the area, by also creating a great place for visitors and citizens alike. Ultimately, we created a 2050 vision map. I will admit a little more abstract than our prior one, but one I think does and tells the story quite well. As you can see, the 4 key priorities of this vision were creating multimodal transportation to ease congestion, preserving our natural resources out east, out west, focusing development in existing urban areas, and building durable infrastructure to withstand future storm events. We've identified major nodes and growth potential areas that we'd like to focus on, as well as this vision focus area down here in the bottom left, blue being infrastructure, yellow being economy, purple mobility, red safety, and the green environmental areas out here. Also an underlying active transportation network that we will build on to invest in bike-ped infrastructure. I won't bore you all with the extreme amount of numbers and data that went into determining how these projects were funded, but ultimately we were provided a revenue forecast by the Department of Transportation as well as your staffs. We went very far in depth in terms of what revenue we could expect to see over the next 25 years. I will add one caveat. The carbon reduction program, that money was sent back by the state to the federal government, and that has been removed from potential for our plan going forward. If that is revisited in the near future per a new authorization, it could potentially resolve in an amendment to our long-range plan going forward. However, currently, we elected not to show that money as part of our revenue forecast. We also collected, as I mentioned in some of our previous presentations, all the information related to local and constitutional fuel tax as well as impact fees. So ultimately, I think you've seen this before. I don't need to go too far, but we're projected to see about 50% less state and federal tax revenue for transportation projects in our region over the next 25 years. That then lends itself to having be a bit more decisive in what we want to fund and what we think we're able to fund over the next 25 years. I will add caveat on your funding as well. Half of that goes to debt service, O&M, and other infrastructure, i.e. stormwater, et cetera. So while these numbers look much larger, they're probably about half of those as projected. Some of the things that went into developing our cost feasible plan, not just a revenue forecast, but a large number of our studies that informed many chapters within our long-range plan and also the types of projects that we'd like to fund. The town tour meetings, as previously mentioned, we heard more about which priorities we've already kind of moved forward from our 2045 and what other local priorities we'd like to see going forward. A number of outreach events, and then we went through a technical review process with our local staff in the middle of the summer to make sure that we were on track. Ultimately, how do you create a cost feasible plan? Completing pipeline projects is priority number 1. So anything that is currently funded in the work program or STIP or TIP, any phase, any portion of that being funded, it makes it a pipeline project and something that we'd like to see completed. After that, we establish multimodal programs. So a number of programs that are based around various types that we set a portion of that revenue aside to potentially fund over the next 25 years. We also wanted to make sure that proportional funding was part of the process where we looked at cost efficiency coefficients and basically did a net positive, is there a positive benefit to the project? I'm looking at a benefit cost relationship type example. So did the value the project bring make sense from a cost perspective, or did that drastically outweigh what that project would potentially cost? Ultimately, we'll go specifically into the numbers, at depth, but I will say we did allocate early on in the pipeline projects. You'll see the vast majority of our funding spent in that first 5 years, with some of it being built out as we receive it over the next several. The program projects, much larger scale, but as you will see, none of that is funded in the current 5 years, but then the program's going out forward. I will go briefly into each of the program types at a high level and give some project spotlights of some potential projects that are in those categories. So all in all, the pipeline, you can see pretty well allocated throughout the region. 31 total projects in the pipeline, 20 state highway, 11 local. They were previously informed by our 2045 cost feasible, our local priorities, as well as some of our other major studies, as well as FDOT's SIS cost feasible plan. Some major projects from the regional perspective are the ATMS master plan, Boulevard of the Arts, US 41, and 789. So some of the major projects throughout the region that are currently funded that we'd like to see be completed in the next 25 years. Roadway capacity, as you know, those projects are quite expensive. So that was originally done at a scale of originally had broken the program into 10 projects per project type. However, there was quite an equitable amount of money being spent in capacity in comparison to other projects, actually over 75% if we did 10 capacity projects. So we went back to the drawing board and looked at some of the major needs and what would work with the state's development process as well. As you can see, it's a pretty even split on the state highway system for local facilities. Some of the major projects that were included in that were State Road 72, Fort Hamer, as well as you can see up there on Buckeye, as well as down, on Lorraine as well. So a number of these projects are vital to our continued growth, and we'll continue to see investment in those over the next several years. Our intersection program, a lot of this went into basically efficiency and whether or not that intersection was performing well. As you can see, the vast majority of those are either transitions to roundabouts or signal timing improvements. 9 of these are on the state highway system, 2 on the local roads. That has a relationship with which intersections are performing at not the same level. A lot of our local roads do perform quite well in terms of intersection. A lot of the state road facilities have inefficiencies that we'd like to see addressed. So as you can see down here, US 41 roundabouts, Myrtle and MLK, 9th Street, and 64 Gulf Drive, all roundabout improvements that we think would create greater efficiency in the system. Resiliency program, only 7 of these projects as well. They are also quite expensive and include a number of stormwater improvements, elevations to certain roadways. The vast majority of these are also on state highway systems. Some of the spotlights we'd like to look at is 301 in Palmetto, 681 down in south of Sarasota County, and then Sumter Boulevard in Northport. You also can see connections to downtown Sarasota, Cortez, and Siesta Key as well. The multimodal program, this is where the vast majority of the money is spent from our trails alternatives, where bike ped transit investment is being made. The vast majority of these are spent on local facilities. These are where we want to see our SU and TA dollars guided. Some of the major projects identified here is the Palmetto's Trails Network, Palmetto, creating connections to northern Manatee County, Venice Ave, as well as Lockwood Ridge Road. Safety program, this is based around our safety projects and our high injury network. As you can see, the vast majority of these projects are located in Manatee County. Also, the vast majority are on the state highway system. That should really come to no surprise. This is where we're seeing the vast majority of our serious injuries and fatalities occur. The source of those, the high injury network, as previously mentioned, congestion management process. Some of the projects in this program, US 41, Cortez, and Bee Ridge Road. And lastly, the TSM&O program, Transit Signal Management and Operations. So you think of signal timing and creating efficiencies within our existing system. The state highway system, it's pretty even split, but you can see we're focused on building out the center of the network first to make sure that we can create as great of efficiency with the system we already have and then work our way out. The source of these is the congestion management process, the Barrier Island implementation plan recommendations, as well as local needs. One of the ones that we've worked closely on with the state and getting funded over the last several years is the transit signal priority implementation, and that demonstration project has just gotten underway. Lastly, just wanted to briefly mention, people view this as kind of a culmination of all the work we've done over the last 2 years. We see this as a first step. Ultimately, the point and purpose of the LRTP is to implement, and we've identified a number of ongoing and upcoming studies that we'd like to see further develop our long-range plan that we've worked so hard on over the last 2 years. Ultimately, this is a work product of your priorities and the projects you'd like to see funded in our region, and we appreciate the support over the last 2 years.
Great, thank you, Brian. I'll just open this up for discussion. Is there any discussion before we get moving here? Left, right, Commissioner Koch, please.
Yes.
Could you just highlight for me a little bit about the spotlight of MLK and Myrtle, the roundabouts there?
Sure. When we were going through the process, so you go to intersection. So ultimately, we made, decisions over the last several years on where we think those priorities could kind of be built out. MLK and Myrtle, as we know, we've had conversations with the state and we'll continue to have them. It is a costly endeavor. It is one that we have phased out over several time periods, essentially, in the long-range plan. So ultimately, I can't say that we will have the funding for that project in the near term. It's one that we've identified as a priority going forward. So I'm not sure I have an answer for you in terms of where we could see that money coming from in the next several years, but it's one that we have identified based off feedback from you as well as from your staff that this is a priority for the city of Sarasota. So we wanted to make sure that was confirmed in our plan.
And if I may ask, the funding, where's the hang-up on the funding? Because I know I was pretty sure that there was design and plan funding, but it was the right-of-way acquisition that was the issue. And what can we do to move past that? I reference it only just to give a little bit of background information. Some people on this board may remember that I have brought this up on many occasions, but I have here from one of our MPO meetings about the high injury network, and it talks of, one of these maps that was given to us at a meeting a couple of years ago, and it's from an assessment, a crash assessment from 2017 to 2022, and the roadways that were identified were the most dangerous in the region, but comprised only 2.8% of the roadways, but were responsible for 44.8% of the fatality and serious crashes and 39% of the deadly crashes. And included in that roadway map were 41 MLK to 9th Avenue. And that was responsible for the top number of KSI killed and serious injury crashes at 388. The next closest was 315, the next one was 247. And in fatal crashes, it accounted for 55, the next closest was 18. So that stretch of the road is comparable to the other stretches of road in the 20 that were given in the list, yet it was responsible for far more of the fatal and serious crashes. And we have known in the city of Sarasota how the roundabouts in succession do slow traffic down. So I see this as one tool to actually be incredibly impactful in a roadway segment that accounts for the vast majority in the region of fatal crashes. And with that background behind us, I was hoping we could find a funding source for the right-of-way acquisition, which is what I believe is the biggest issue.
Certainly, I would say that's all great information. It also is not currently, 17 to 23, a lot of those have rolled off as well. I would say the most up-to-date data is also kind of shifted further north. I would still say it doesn't take away from the value of the project. It is a good project. It's also in the range of $25 to $30 million. That comes into the cost. As we did a lot of value engineering in some of these things and said, what is the value? We understand that it is a safety concern, but where do we find that? I know we're going to work closely with the state to say, what is a viable funding source? The MPO, like I said, at least over the next 5 years, most of our money is already accounted for and on projects. It would have to be alternative sources to that, potentially for further discretionary grants, something the state could look at as well. It is on a state road facility. So it doesn't take away that it's a valuable project. It's that we do have to locate a funding source within a very limited scope and range that we currently have available to us.
Okay, and if you could just get me details on the origin of those costs. We don't have to clarify it now, but it's my understanding that there was one design for those two roundabouts, and then it was reimagined in a different way that cost a whole lot more money and required the acquisition,
Yeah.
which is what slowed down the project and frankly stopped it. So if I could get some details
Certainly.
on that and how we can figure out to move this along, as it is a priority for us in the city of Sarasota. Our commissions discussed this, we've made it a priority, and I would just like to see what we can do to help move this,
Yeah,
where it
absolutely.
belongs on the priority list.
Absolutely, and I know your staff has also been, both Nick and I think Shaji as well, be working on this, that have been in conversations with the state in terms of value and cost of that project. So we will continue those conversations and make sure we get an answer for you.
Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Any further questions or comments for staff? All right, seeing none, is there a motion, please, for the 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan? We have a motion by Mayor, we have a second by Commissioner Mass. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Thank you, Ryan, appreciate that. Moving on to agenda item number 7A, which will be the MPO presentation. We will start with presentation 7AI, Ed Smith Mobility Study. This will be presented by Mr. Ryan Suarez, AICP with Kimley Horn and Associates. Good morning, Ryan, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, and I'll just do a brief intro for Ryan as well. This is another study that we've been working on, similar to LECOM that we did up in the city of Bradenton. We've got some good information for you today. We're making good progress, actually ahead of schedule, and we just want to give you a little bit more information and some potential looks at projects that would be worthy an investment. Ryan will briefly mention some of the work that we've done with the LRTP, and we've already given that consideration. Some of the major outcomes from this study will already be considered in funding for our 2050 long-range plan. So with that, I'll hand it over to Ryan.
Good morning, everyone. Ryan Suarez with Kimley Horn. Thanks for having me back this morning. As Ryan mentioned, we have been working with the team concurrent with LRTP adoption to make sure that whatever projects come out of here are included as well, those as best that we can. Last we met here, I think it was in May, I provided a status at that point and talked about some preliminary findings that we had at that point over the course of the work. Some of the things that have been accomplished since we last met are noted here. It does look like a short list, but it has taken some work to get to those quarter by quarter project recommendations. We have worked with city and county staff, that being Sarasota County, and City of Sarasota staff to get to those improvements. There's also a toolkit that we've prepared. I'll talk about that here in just a second. Just to remind everybody about the study area and the corridors that we have been looking at. On the north, we have 17th Street. On the south, we have Fruitville Road. To the east, US 301. And, to the east, Beneva, and to the west, US 301. The color coding here is just for us to organize city, county, and state roads. As you can see, there's 13 in total. Most of them are city corridors, and this helped us organize projects, not just for discussion, but also just for packaging and implementation. The toolkit, this is an important part of what we did. We wanted to help folks be able to visualize and understand the types of recommendations, the types of improvements that we're recommending for the study area and those corridors. And one thing to note here is everything that's being recommended is described, annotated, and there's a picture image within the toolkit. So there's nothing else. So it's a very specific toolkit for this study area. We thought this was important because it really serves as a companion document. There are a lot of projects that we've recommended for the area, and I'll give everyone the reason why here in just a second. One important part of this is we did try to match toolkit fixes with local projects that were very similar in scope. So we did try to put in images, and in that way, folks understand how these things operate, and that there isn't anything really really out of the ordinary that hasn't been tried and true here in Sarasota. And if we couldn't find something in Sarasota, we tried to really stick with the Tampa Bay region. We do have a lot of projects, and this is an important piece to pause on because in talking with staff and thinking about implementation, we did want to identify, we didn't just want to come up with big, long quarter, big ticket project recommendations. We wanted to get down into some smaller scale, short, medium, and long-term projects. What are those low-hanging fruit that we can do now that could be done within existing resources without having to go into the MPO process? So there is a long table for each project and this companion graphic. I think there's a graphic for each quarter that's included in your agenda packet. The graphic's just used to illustrate the improvements by type. There's a lot more description in the tabular data. So I want to take a step back here. All this was vetted and discussed with staff. One thing back to the short, mid, and long-term improvements, I'll have to credit City of Sarasota staff at this point because in terms of those low-hanging fruit, they have a click-to-fix tool, which is open to the public where folks can indicate if there's a fix out in the community that needs to be handled. They went ahead and took some of our smaller scale improvements, such as restriping, signage. Again, these are low budget items, and they've added those to the click-to-fix tool, so those can be handled a lot sooner than some of the, again, more intense, more resource oriented fixes. This is the point where I'd like to encourage everyone to take a moment when you have some time to zoom in on your location of interest. We've prepared a dashboard, which includes this visualization and also some simple tools where you can query by segment, by intersection, by improvement type. And what'll happen, there's a pop-out where you can view all the different fixes that have been recommended for each location. So a user-friendly tool, so that way you don't have to struggle through a long list of projects, but can, again, zoom into your particular location of interest and view, and then circle back and provide to us comment. We're still working with staff to get this posted onto the MPO website, but we're getting close to a fix that I think that's going to work, and we're going to disseminate this within the week. One thing we like to do is prepare visualizations for what some of these full build-outs will look like. And I'll take a pause here, and I want to address the public comment that was given earlier today. That was actually at our CAC meeting. We are working on all these visualizations to ensure that it is reflected on all users that could potentially use our facilities. So our team is working on graphics that include either wheelchair folks with walkers on these visualizations. So that way they are, again, representative of everyone that's of course, that we foresee would use these facilities. The example here is Shade Avenue looking north from Aspinwall, for those who are familiar. To the right, or to your left, is what this looks like today. Unpaved, no, not a whole lot. I don't believe there's any lighting there, really uninviting. What we're proposing is something that's like what's shown on the left, which is a wide sidewalk, a multi-use trail such as what's in place today, the 8th Street walkway, for those of you who are familiar. We've gone ahead and tied this to the toolkit in terms of the nomenclature that you see here, so folks could understand, again, what it takes, the complexity of the implementation, and understand a little bit of the cost and the resources it takes to build these. The other example I have here is Lockwood Ridge, and again, we're developing a few of these for different areas. These are just samples for the group, so that way, again, you can understand what's being completed over the course of the project. Lockwood Ridge between Fruitville and 17th Street, which is within our study area, largely residential. We do have right-of-way for this type of application. And before I jump into that, back to the LRTP and the LRTP forecast, really no need at this point for more capacity on Lockwood Ridge. So we've taken the opportunity to add that wide sidewalk or trail which would be on the east side with the landscape buffer, maintain the 2 lanes of travel north and south, and still have room for the sidewalk, a buffered sidewalk on the west side. Similar to the Shade Avenue example, we've tied this to the toolkit by way of this legend that you see here. So again, this will be in the report so folks can easily tie and read the descriptions in the toolkit and understand what's being proposed. Where we're at now, we're developing costs for all our projects, and we're doing this by quarter and by segment. We're also going to work to prioritize, and this is important, brought to us by staff, because project sponsors, that being the city or the county, may need in the future to submit this or any of our projects as part of the MPO priority projects process. We've gone ahead and applied the MPO prioritization tool. For those of you who are not familiar, this is a web-based tool based on location. It assesses a number of different demographic and statistical information to be able to provide a scoring. So we're getting ahead of that for the folks that'll have to go through this exercise and request projects through the MPO process, and that'll be made available as well. We're also breaking these down by intersection. I think I mentioned the click to fix. Yes, I did before. Again, speaking to the low-hanging fruit, we do think that this is very important. Again, trying to move things along as best as we can, understanding that we are kind of limited in terms of funding and resources. I think that's the end. So I'll open it up to questions at this point, if anyone has any.
Great, thank you, Ryan. Do we have any questions for Ryan this morning? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Have a great week.
Thank you very much.
Okay, very good. We are going to take a pause in our agenda items today, and we're going to take a few minutes here. And Ms. Eubanks, we're going to take some time, maybe perhaps share some thoughts. And Dave's got a little present here for you. So, Dave, I thought, maybe what we would do is
Thank you.
certainly we'll go down the dais with our board here. We'll finish with Dave and maybe a couple thoughts from you. And then, Dave, maybe we can bring Ms. Banks in front of this board. We could all get together for a quick picture. That's my little vision there. So thank you, ma'am. And what I'll do is I'll start on my right, and then we'll move this way through the dais. So any comments from Ms. Eubanks?
Congratulations.
I would like to say congratulations, but also thank you for your professionalism and your time. You've always been available for me whenever I've had questions. And when I've come forward with Scrivener's errors and comments and edits on the notes, you've always been so receptive and appreciative of it, and that's not always the situation. So I really appreciate your work and your dedication, and thank you so much and wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Hi. I'm sure this will, of course, thank you, but when I was first on the MPO, newly appointed, you were just such a kind person and so helpful and always there to make the learning process go a lot smoother. And I just want to thank you for that and wish you all the best.
And Annette, want to thank you for all your service, all the years.
Thank you.
And we wish you the best. We really do.
Ms. Eubanks, I just want to say, from the moment that I first talked to you last year, I knew I was going to just really, really love being around you and talking with you. So thank you very much for making my first year so wonderful. I really appreciate that, and congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you. Congratulations again. And my 10-plus years on this board has always been easier because of you and because of you giving the information. And when something, we need it quickly or slowly or whatever would happen, it was always right there. And I know 24 years is not something to look back or take lightly. And I know we're going to miss you, but I know Dave's going to miss you for a short time. Ryan's really going to miss you as it gets into the time, because without somebody that has that historical knowledge, it makes it tough. But I know you'll be there to help if they need you. So congratulations, and life has changed for you, but it's something that you got to move forward and rely on your family. So
Thank you so much.
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. Congratulations on retiring, and thank you for your decades of service to the MPO and to these communities at large. It's been nice working with you. You've been very easy to get information from, and as the mayor said, Ryan's gonna have a tough time filling a lot of shoes around here. There's a lot of turnover going on all at the same time on this MPO. I think he's up to the task, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck in your future endeavors.
I appreciate it. So we all know that you keep the wheel very well greased. You're the, what I would call the support behind the face. Thank you for always doing it with such grace, a smile, the best hair color out there. I'm telling you right now. I wish you many, many incredible walks on a long beach, many smiles and happiness, but Godspeed, my friend.
Hi, Nanette. We've only known each other a few months, but you've been an outstanding help to me, and I really appreciate all you've done to ease my transition into this new role. So best of luck to you, and congratulations on a great career here with MPO. Thank you.
Ms. Eubanks, thank you so much for always having a smile on your face. If I ever came in that door with that I was down, you brought it back up. And I really appreciate all the hard work that you've done within this MPO board, and just you're going to be missed. So really appreciate it, and thank you so much for everything.
Well, I think I'm like Mayor Brown. I think I've been here maybe 10 years as well, and you're really going to be missed. I've always enjoyed working with you, and you were just always really kind, your smiling face, and it's not going to be the same, and we appreciate your hard work and your service throughout the 24 years. And Dave's going to be gone, and LK is now gone. These meetings are not going to be saying, I'm sorry. I'm sure you'll be great, Mr. Driggers, but these are a lot of changes in just a short period of time. So enjoy your retirement. At some point, I may do that. I don't know, but not anytime soon. But thank you for all you did.
Well, Ms. Eubanks, there's not a whole heck of a lot I could say that hasn't been said, but change is constant, right? As we all know, and we've alluded to that with some changes in faces here, but it's also an opportunity to celebrate a career, the working relationship that I believe each and every one of us on this board here has had with you. It's a time to reflect on the funny times, and you do have an infectious laugh, I will say that. It is very nice, but everything has always been very well prepared for our meetings, the communication. You will be missed, but I do hope that you have a wonderful retirement. Enjoy the time, and the lower the latitude, the better the attitude. So, get an opportunity to go south if you can. With that being said, I'll hand it over to Mr. Hutchinson, who I know you've had a very long-term relationship with. I'm sure he has some very kind words, but God bless.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, board members. I appreciate that, and I know that Nanette does too. She's the last person that was at the MPO when I arrived, actually, about 15 years ago. So this will be sort of a changing of the guard a second time during that time, and it's been good. And you talked about her infectious smile, and I think that she worked hard with your staffs too, which is why we're able to assure a quorum and make sure that our meetings make good use of your time, which has always been one of our objectives. So I thank you, and I thank Nanette. I wish her the best. She says she's going to be an agricultural interpreter and run a flower shop or plants?
Native plants. I'm going to grow my own native plants. And I'm fortunate I live in an area where I can go out in the woods and get them. So, yes. But thank you, everyone, for your kind words, very much so. And thank you for the beautiful flowers.
When I started with the MPO 24 years ago, that first day I went home and told my husband, I want to retire from there. And I am. And I thank y'all. Thank you so much.
We'll probably have to squeeze in. Yep.
No, you're the centerpiece, the centerpiece.
That's, oh, that'll work.
Hey, you get Sam. I'll take the picture.
All right, thank you.
Of course, good.
Oh, that's why it's offset.
Yeah.
Yay.
Wonderful, and thanks again, Mrs. Eubanks. We will next move on to agenda item number 7A, which is the 2026 Call for Projects presentation. And with us this morning, we'll have Nina Venter presenting. Good morning, Nina, you're recognized.
Good morning, thank you. This is just a very quick announcement to say, now that we have the 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan officially adopted, we will be working on releasing our 2026 Call for Projects in just a couple of weeks before the month is out. This is something that we do every single year, where your staff work on preparing project applications for eligible projects that have been identified in the Long Range Transportation Plan. So projects that are identified in the pipeline or in the programs, as Ryan presented, are all eligible for funding consideration through this process. So keep an eye out for this. We have also announced this to the Technical Advisory Committee. Please note that we do ask that any project application has updated cost estimates included for every project, regardless if it is already programmed or if it is a new project. Updated cost estimates are absolutely essential for making sure that our projects are ready to hit the ground once they hit the work program. So that's all that I have. I'll take any questions if there are any from the board.
Great, thank you, Nina. Any questions from the left side? Seeing none, any questions here from the right? All right, seeing no questions, thank you, Ms. Nina. Moving on to agenda item 7B, which is the FDOT Draft 5-Year Tentative Work Program Overview. And this morning, we have Ms. Pamela Barr from FDOT who will present this item. Good morning, Ms. Pamela, you are recognized.
Good morning, and thank you. As Nina had mentioned, we are working on our draft tentative work program, and I'm going to give you an overview through a video. The draft work program documents that we do provide a snapshot of roadway improvements, transportation alternatives, bridges, safety, and public transportation projects, which will be funded during the 5-year period, which begins July 1st, 2026. That is the state fiscal year, through June 30th of 2031, the end of our fiscal year in 2031. The draft tentative work program is subject to change until it is adopted by the Florida legislature, and the budget is signed by the governor by July 1st, 2026. So we will go ahead and give you an overview of our work program.
With over 22 million people calling Florida home and 137 million more visiting our great state every year, reliable transportation infrastructure is integral to our state's economy, livability, and resiliency. Stable and long-term planning to meet the transportation needs of residents and visitors is the primary responsibility of the Florida Department of Transportation. Florida's multimodal transportation system includes roadways, bridges, bicycle and pedestrian facilities, airports, seaports, spaceports, rail lines, and transit. State and local transportation officials work together to develop plans and innovative strategies to improve safety and mobility for all users. These plans are carried out by the 5-year work program. The FDOT consists of 7 districts and the Florida's Turnpike Enterprise. The work program is developed through these districts, working with local governments, metropolitan planning organizations, other agencies, and the public. The work program contains projects in different stages: planning, project development and environment, design, right-of-way, construction, and maintenance. Through the work program process, the state's transportation priorities are established. After work program public hearings are held in each FDOT district, public comments have been accepted, local governments have endorsed the plan, and the Florida Transportation Commission and state legislators have approved it, the official 5-year work program is adopted by the Secretary of the Florida Department of Transportation on July 1st, the first day of the state's fiscal year. As FDOT develops and updates each year's work program with residents and government partners, it is understood that next July 1st, the current year of the plan is complete and a new 5th year will be added on. The yearly update produces the new tentative 5-year work program. The work program assures we have a prioritized program of transportation choices that result in a better quality of life for the residents and visitors to this beautiful state.
All right, so as was stated in the video, you need the public hearings, and our public hearing for District 1 is going to be it starts today, October 20th, through Friday, October 24th, and this is during the business hours, and then you can, if you can't go to the places, we have e-public hearings, which will be open and available starting today at southwestfloridaroads.com, or also at fdot.gov, WPPH/District 1. And then for our in-person will be on Friday, October 24th at 11 a.m., and it will happen simultaneously at both our Bartow office and also our Fort Myers office on Daniels Parkway. So if you want to participate in the public meeting, what it will do is it will go through the work program citizens report with also the summary of changes, any comments on any formatting that was done, how things were gotten, can be made at that time, as you saw in the video. An example of some of the projects that are in the work program at this time is our State Route 72 Clark Road from east of I-75 to east of Proctor, and 72 from east of Proctor to Lorraine. This is a construction of 4 lanes, which are divided with roundabouts and multi-use paths on both sides. This was an earmark, and the MPO also supported this partnership with funds with FDOT. So we have environment and right-of-way right now scheduled for FY 2029 in the amount of $13,992,500 for each project. We also have the Legacy Trail overpasses at Beneva Road overpass in Sarasota. These are pedestrian overpasses. These were what we call local agency program projects, or LAP projects. This is a continuation of the Legacy Trail. We have construction in fiscal year 2099 in the amount of $5 million, and we are currently in the design phase. These are just examples of what items are put into the work program. You gonna help me out there? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'd also like to add that you will be getting these distributed to you after the meeting, both work program documents as well as a summary of changes. I've also put in some highlights for you to say what our MPO priorities are and where we've funded some of those priorities as well. So that should be a little bit clearer for you. Some of the major projects as they range across the board, bike ped, trail capacity, TSM&O. You'll see which ones that we've had a hand in helping fund here through your prioritization process, as well as some of the other major state projects that have been identified.
The coordination, yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay, great. Perfect. I just wanted to make sure. I know we'd send it to the TAC, so it's with the highlights. Perfect. So you should have that. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask us. I will work with the department to get you an answer.
Okay, great. Do we have any questions for Ms. Barr this morning? Seeing none, thank you kindly. Thank you. All right, very good. Oh, Dave, yes.
I wanted to point out one item that has come up. We don't really have, an answer to as far as the exact timing of the replacement or the rescheduling of the Bradenton Palmetto Connector Corridor, and that is the in-kind replacement of the DeSoto Bridge. And that was slated to start, and we get under construction, and I know that you've had some conversations with Mayor Brown, and, this has been our number one regional priority as one of the hot spots for congestion, and we just want to keep that on don't let it drop off the stove. Keep it on the front burner as much as you can.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to wait and say something with the Secretary Driggers, but I know that there was some conversation, obviously, with City of Bradenton earlier through a presentation with the corridor study. I know it just went to Manatee County about a week ago or 2 weeks ago. That Manatee County got the presentation. I believe Palmetto's already had the presentation. So this really touches all of us. And some projects, when you look at DOT projects, they may just touch a portion of a community. A bridge out in the county or a bridge in, somewhere else or a roadway. But this does really affect drastically City of Palmetto, City of Bradenton, and Manatee County, which is the main corridor to get anywhere to the beaches and the transportation. And we see you have 22 million residents, but 150 million visitors. And most of those visitors are what's causing and then we have 50%, which this corridor study just came up with, 50% of the traffic is regional in downtown Palmetto and City of Bradenton that goes through. So as we look at numbers, that's really something that we would hope that DOT would focus on that. We know there's 2 other bridges that connect the barrier islands, but this bridge is as important getting to it. So we were excited that it was coming in '26, and it's hard to say we're not disappointed that it's now been pushed off at least 5 or 6 years. And that's something that, because when you can get north and south traffic going 50% quicker, that makes east and west go 50% quicker. And that's a huge in our community. And we see a lot of things that are happening where the public blames why you do this, why you do that. Well, obviously, local roads we can try to fix, but state roads, we need help. So we understand, but we're also encouraged that hopefully we can look at this and maybe do it, because this has been a 30-year situation, and I know that this doesn't fix the whole problem, but at least starts that fix. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
The importance of the replacement of the structure, and I'll have the opportunity to come up in the spring to leverage that opportunity, and we'll do what we can to try to put it back on course.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the board? Great. Seeing none. Dave?
I have one separate comment. I meant to mention this in my report, to recognize that we have several members of your appointees to our Citizens Advisory Committee that are in attendance, and I like to recognize them. They volunteer their efforts and they provide insight, valuable insight. And if they could stand and be recognized, thank you. And I also wanted to mention upcoming, we have next Monday, the Manatee County delegation meeting where Vice Chair Brown will be representing the MPO board, and then the Sarasota County delegation meeting is on November 13th. And, the funding for transportation projects and the importance of our systems approach and the regional network is what we want to thank the legislators for their ongoing support of, and also remind them of some of your top priorities.
Very good. All done, Dave?
Thank you.
All right, very good. All right. Moving on to agenda item number 8, which is the 2026 elections and appointment section of our agenda, starting with 8A, which is the election of chair and vice chair for 2026. We will begin with the chair nominations. because the outgoing chair is from Sarasota County, the incoming chair must be from Manatee County, and traditionally, the chairperson is assumed by the previous vice chair, but other members may be nominated or elected to the position. Do we have any nominations for chair? And I'd like to go ahead and take the privilege in nominating Mayor Brown for chair. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Seeing none, congratulations, Mayor, but we will get a second. Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Cruz. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Passes unanimously. Congratulations. Here you go.
Thank you.
All
Final
right.
meeting.
All right, we're moving. We're making room. We're moving today. All right, moving on to the election of the vice chair. This is, let's just see here if I got this right. Yes, moving on to the vice chair because the outgoing vice chair is from Manatee County. The incoming vice chair must be from Sarasota County. Do we have any vice chair nominations from the floor? I'll go ahead and open this one. I'm going to motion Commissioner Mast from Sarasota County. Do we have any other nominations from the floor? Seeing none, congratulations, Commissioner Mast. I need a second, though, please. Second by Commissioner Cruz. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Passes unanimously. Moving on to agenda item 8B, appointments of the MPO Advisory Council. Appointments to the MPO Metropolitan Planning Organization and Advisory Council. Mr. Hutchinson will lead this discussion, and then we will vote. Mr. Hutchinson, please.
Great. This is a position or a representation that the chair has normally had the opportunity to fill, and but in our history over the years, we've had other board members who were assigned and sometimes represented our MPO on a continuing basis for several years at a time, which is good for continuity at this statewide organization. So my suggestion is that you ask incoming chair Mayor Brown if he's willing to continue to serve in that role, and then you'd need one or two backup people. The vice chair is normally one. We've had the past chair sometimes serve. Commissioner Alpert has filled in off and on at several of these regional board meetings over the years as an alternate and done a great job. Commissioner Ahern Coat has been an alternate as well, but she hasn't had to go to any of the meetings.
Very good, Dave. That sounds very logical to me. And in this case, it seems like we should be nominating our mayor from the city of Bradenton. Mayor, would you like to continue in that role?
Yes, and it's been very enlightening, and I was elected to the executive board during a meeting a little while back. So I've enjoyed doing that, and I would appreciate continuing to do it.
All right, very good. I'll make the motion to nominate Mayor Brown, please. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, gosh, I think everybody seconded you, Mayor. I'll just put everybody. Is there any opposed? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mayor. Moving now into agenda item number 8C, which is the 2026 appointments to the Suncoast Transport. Dave, did you have something?
No, did you elect? Okay, so we have an alternate. We have two alternates. Is that? Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and revisit the MPO AC Advisory Council. And Dave, you, I think, had alluded to and mentioned typically if Mayor Brown would not be able to go, it would be the vice chair in his stead. In this case, it would be Commissioner Mast. Is that okay with you?
Be happy
Yes? You want to take 1/3, and let's get one more on the roster just in case. Is there anybody, how does that work?
Well, the past chair would be the.
Oh, no, I'm out. No. But let's see. Rock, paper, scissors here, folks. Whoever gets first to the microphone will be the third. Anybody? All right, Mayor West, Mayor, you'll be third in line. How's that work, Dave? We're good?
Great.
All right, very good. We're moving on now into the appointments to the Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance. And Mr. Hutchison will also lead this discussion. Please, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Chair Nunder. The Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance used to be known as the MPOs of Southwest Florida Chairs Coordinating Committee, or the CCC. It was established in state statute, and the statute, when they eliminated TBARTA, I think they eliminated the requirement for that regional collaboration, but the MPOs all determined to continue to collaborate. So we are involved with the other Tampa Bay area MPOs, which is Pinellas, Hillsborough, Citrus, Hernando, and Pasco, and Polk. in this Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance, so the West Coast MPOs. And they meet twice a year as the elected officials, and the directors and staff have ongoing discussions, usually once a month. Believe it or not, when I came here, they were meeting every other week, it seems like, sometimes in person. We've scaled that way back, but we do coordinate a lot with them, and they are involved in producing the Suncoast annual Safe Streets Summit for our Southwest Florida region, and lots of other coordination takes place involving the two districts. The two districts do participate in those meetings. Every other year, the Suncoast body meets with the other body that represents Orlando and the East Coast of Florida. So there's some good MPO and FDOT coordination that happens at this meeting. The next meeting is in December, and I believe that Mayor Brown has represented you in the last year on that body. Commissioner Alpert has served as a alternate over the years, and I would suggest once again that you have, if Mayor Brown's willing to do it and has time, that would be great, or perhaps, Commissioner Mast or Mayor Alpert.
Yeah, one of the things that, and thank you, Chair, one of the things that I thought was interesting is sometimes in the way the trail is, we kind of are on the end of it and we don't get thought about a lot. And I think that's something very important, especially some of the one particular Manatee County Commissioner chair that really, the trail, and I'm not saying but I just think to connectivity, and I think we get not left out, but we're kind of, because it's difficult to connect us. It really is, because we don't have the vast space that some of those towns that have put out in some of the corridors. But I think it's important that we're represented, and you've done a great job, David, keeping it. But it was very interesting. So if anybody else wants to kind of see that and help, that's okay. But if not, I think I can probably figure it in, because I was glad to get to meet people and do that. But if Commissioner Mast or anyone else wants to, that's fine.
All right, very good, Mayor. Well, appreciate the history, the background, and just for the good of the order, this is a 2 times a year meeting, right? Averaging about, so
Yes.
the time commitment is relatively insignificant at that point. So is there anybody, we have a pretty good trail network. I have no issues volunteering our very own Sarasota County Commissioner if she's willing to do it. We got some trail stuff. You ready to go? Sure. She's ready to go. All right, I'll make a motion for Commissioner Mast to be appointed SCTPA for the 2026 year. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, I got a second all the way to the right side of the dais here. Any opposed? Seeing none, let's call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Agenda item number 9, we're moving on into member comments for the good of the order. Mayor at the left, Mayor Alpert, we'll start with you, ma'am.
I have no comments.
Thank you. Commissioner?
No, sir. No, sir.
Nope.
Oh, one thing that I will say is I just actually received information that in Manatee County, we have Manatee Avenue, which goes from the interstate, obviously, all the way out to the islands. There was a portion that was paved this year by DOT, or last year, started several years ago, and the DOT had issues with the contractor, and then, oh, by the way, we had 3 hurricanes last year that slowed things up. There was some work that got finished but didn't get finished in the manholes, so it was like you're playing whack-a-mole, and I think I've heard that at the county commission meeting a couple of times. But I just got a text that all of those manholes are now fixed, where which took quite a bit of time. But, and I just wanted the residents to hear it that are listening to this, that it's something that, there was an issue with the contractor. They actually had to replace that contractor, and now the manhole covers are done, so you're not dodging around for the majority of it. And there's still some construction going on east that'll be done, but hopefully we can get those manhole covers done at the same time as the construction's done. And then also, I did have a request from one resident. There's about 45 or 50 signs still up on the side roads that say "in construction" that have been up for years now in people's yards. If we can make sure and go down Manatee Avenue from 15th Street east to 43rd Street East and make sure that, 'cause with two contractors, nobody knows who they are. And, yeah, west, 15th Street West to 43rd Street West. The residents have said, can we get those end of construction and some of the other ones out of our yards that have been there for some upwards of 3 years now? So,
We've got the right person in the room with us
Right.
today, so I suspect they'll be taken care of pretty.
right, well, I
quick.
appreciate it. And Nicole Mills has done a great job helping us through a lot of it, but some of it is just, they don't know whose signs they are anymore because different contractors now. So not a complaint, just hopefully we can get that project finished.
Yeah, we'll look into it, make sure it's taken care of.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. Microphone, please.
Just again, Ms. Eubanks, thank you very much for your service, and we wish you well once again.
No comment.
I just have 4 comments while we have the secretary here at the meeting. Some neighborhood meetings I've attended in the past, there are requests for at St. Armand's Circle. There are some speed tables that have been put around the circle. They are collapsing, they've fallen in, they're not really functioning anymore, and request of potentially a timeline when those will be replaced and upgraded. Also, the hawk signals at 10th and 14th are not functioning, or not there, or are malfunctioning at both those roundabouts, and I'm happy to supply some more information about it. Also, there's a double signage issue at those roundabouts of Fruitville, 10th and 14th as well, where it says, stop for pedestrians, stop when the signal says red. So it's a double message, double signage, and and motorists are confused. And then we had a discussion about this last meeting about Boulevard of the Arts and the pedestrian crossing there across 41. With the increased activity in the Bay Park, which we're all very, happy about, the speeding that goes along there is very dangerous and is a big concern. So they're looking for some sort of short-term effort to slow traffic down at that intersection. And again, I'm happy to have more information about that. So thank you, and that's it. Thank you very much. And once again, congratulations, Mr. Banks.
Go ahead, Dave.
2 things. First, Secretary Driggers has no longer interim, so at least for the next year, he is our secretary. Congratulations, and I thought our board should know that. And one of the things that we have identified in our long-range plan, and that the city of Sarasota is actually probably at the front of the pack on, is the use of the most advanced sensor technology at some intersections that could actually detect pedestrian activity. I have noticed not just in those roundabouts, but throughout the region, many people, even if they're crossing at a crosswalk that has signals with a push button, they don't use the button. They just walk right out in the road. And it's, to the extent that our plans and the improvements that are already funded are underway, can start to test some of those sensors that detect pedestrian or bicyclists, and then would actually activate the signal even if they don't push the button. Maybe that will help that situation because the double signage is probably there because not everyone pushes the button. So you're not going to get a red, but you're going to have a pedestrian right out in front of you. And, challenging times.
Oh, yeah. They got good technology there in the city, including speed cameras through school zones, which, it's I'm dying on the hill, Mayor, every time I get a chance to bring it up. So, there's some money in those coffers too, ladies. Maybe you want to use those for a little speed calming. I'm doing my part. You all know I'm doing my part funding it, so I'm joking.
Thank you.
I'm joking. Every chance I get. Are there any additional comments from this board?
Just, are we meeting November 30th or not? It was not
No,
clear.
I'm going to cover that real quick.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
All right, seeing no further comments, because we did approve the LRTP today, there does not appear to be a need for an additional meeting this calendar year, is what we're looking at. Are we all okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, then what we have is the next joint meeting of the Sarasota County MPO and Charlotte, if I'm reading this correctly, Dave, is January 26th of 2026 at 9 a.m., which the location is to be determined.
Yes, we will try to get them to come up here, perhaps to this location. It's a tight fit, but it might work. And there's also a potential that the new office space could accommodate a tight fit. The room is approximately this size. And so that we'll be, if we have the equipment in, we'll work on perhaps even having the meeting at the MPO office and see how that works.
Can you give us a quick update on that, Dave? If you
Certainly.
could just-
You know, as announced last week, the Manatee County staff, working with our staff, has done a final walkthrough, and we're ready to start preparing to move over there, you know, and start in January. The committee meetings will be held there. It's on State Road 70 across from, the rest of the offices are medical offices, and we have half of a building that will be the MPO. It's right off of State Road 70, across from Manatee Technical Institute. There's no stop light at the turn-in, but there are multiple ways to get in, so that it should be a pretty safe entry. And we look forward to, you know, inviting you to check it out when we're moved in, probably in about 2 months.
Thank you, Dave. Seeing no further comments from this board, we are adjourned. Have a great week.